Hello, my name is Owen.
Hello, my name is Raphael.
Okay, so we will start our interview. And the first question is, where are you from and how old are you? And could you tell your first language? How many languages can you speak?
Okay. I'm Raphael, I'm from France, and I'm 23 years old. And my native language is French, and I also consider Italian as a second mother language because my mother is Italian and my dad is French. And I can speak 6 languages, and I can speak French, Italian, English, German, Chinese, and Spanish. I think I mentioned it.
So you can speak many languages. And can you say hello in French?
Bonjour.
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 And how to say sorry in
In French also?
Yes.
Désolé.
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 Désolé. And how to say hello in German?
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. And how to say sorry in German?
Entschuldigung.
Tut mir
Es tut mir
leid.
leid.
Tut mir leid. Entschuldigung. Yes. And the second question is, why do you want to study in Taiwan? Do you like Taiwanese education?
For me, I would like to study in Taiwan because I wanted to learn Chinese, because this is a very important language in Europe. And I think that what is very interesting in Taiwan for the Taiwanese scholar system is that we're more free. We have some more free time compared to the French one, and we can be more focused on what we want to do and what we want to learn. I think this is better in somehow.
So, in these years, when you study in Taiwan, what is the difference of learning styles do you find between Taiwanese college students and the French college students? For example, Taiwanese students like thumbing their phones when the professor is giving a lecture.
In France, like to check the phone, etc., or to play some games on the phone, in France it's forbidden. If we do this in class, the teacher first they can say to us, please put your phone back into your school bag. And if we don't do it, or if we do it and then later to the same class we are still checking the phone, or even just to check what time it is. In France, the teacher, they can even come to take our phone to put it into into their desk, and until the end of the class we are not allowed to use our phone. Or sometimes they can even say to us to leave the class, and to leave the class not only for the class but sometimes even for all the semester. And because in France the scholar system, like the further education, is a bit different. Like we have to attend to a lot of courses, but most of the courses are not optional; they're required courses. So it means that for the courses we are like when we were asked to leave the class, it means that we also cannot pass the semester, even if we get a good grade for all of the other disciplines. We cannot pass the semester. So for this is a big difference. And also for the teaching style, in France they are more focused on teaching like a big block of content, and we need to learn it and to rephrase it or to explain it into the final test or into the midterm, or we need to use this content to make complete analysis. But compared to Taiwan, in Taiwan it's more the students, they come in class, they listen to the class, and sometimes they don't even write anything on the paper. So this is a big difference, we can say.
So I want to ask another question in Taiwan, a lot of students they just listen, and then when the professor asking a question, the students seldom reply to the professor because maybe Taiwanese students are shy, or I think because I'm a student, my feeling is that maybe students are afraid of speaking something wrong, or they are afraid of being criticized by their professor. So compared to Taiwan, does it happen in France?
In France, I think for this is also totally the opposite, because if a teacher in France or even in another country in Europe, if the teacher has a question, we don't answer to it, this is kind of this could be seen as or perceived as being impolite. So it means that if the teacher asks a question, we need to answer to it. Or if during a class, I can maybe even enlarge your question if during a class all of the students they didn't ask something to the teacher can be kind of frustrated from this, and sometimes at the end of the class he's thinking that the student they didn't listen to him or didn't learn anything from his class. So that's why we are in somehow we can perceive it as forced to answer or forced to interact, but I think this is not really forced, it's like more natural. Like if we have questions, we will ask this, even if the teacher is explaining something, we can just raise up the hands and just ask something, or just to ask the teacher if we didn't understand something perfectly.
So French students, they don't be afraid of speaking something to teacher.
No.
Okay, so I think it's the big difference between Taiwan and France. And the next question is, recently Taiwan is promoting bilingual education, and most of the students in Taiwan are required to learn English. Also, English is the must-take subject, no matter when you go to senior high, college, or other public tests, and etc. Could you describe the language education in France? In France and also more generally in Europe, because France is a part of the EU, so a part of our laws in France could be the same in Sweden or in Italy, Portugal, in all the EU countries. So for this is like generally for the EU countries, we need to learn at least 2 foreign languages. So it means that more like in addition to the mother tongue, like if it's in France, it's French, and we have to learn two more languages. So for me, the first language was English, and the second one was German. So during the education, until I finished the senior high school, I learned French as the mother language, and English as the first foreign language, and German as the second foreign language. But we have to learn at least the first foreign language when we reach the age of 11, and the second foreign language is when we reach the age of 14 years old, and then we can have some choices between different languages. So for me, it was, for the first foreign language, it was English or German. So for my first language, I choose English, and then for the second language, I had the choice between German and Spanish, and for me, I choose German. So why do you choose German? Because as for me, I also learn German. I think German's grammar is very difficult. So why do you choose German?
Yes, I also think that the German grammar is very difficult. Maybe for me, I think is one of the hardest language to learn. And but I think that for me it's a bit special compared to other French or to other people in Europe, because for me, I have some descendants from from the family of my father's side that came from Germany or Austria. So that's why for me it was kind of learning a part of the culture of my family, or a part of, we can say, the part of my genetic. And for me, I think that it was really interesting, and that's why also I continue even more and until to reach a very good level, like the same as my English, and in somehow sometimes some much better than my English. But I think that what is really good about it is that we can learn also from one or two foreign cultures, even if it's like really close countries to France. But in terms of culture, it's somehow it's really different, and somehow it's very close. And as we can say, for some part of the culture, it's the same. But I think this is also good to open the mind to something else, and also to learn what is good from a foreign language or from a foreign culture.
Okay, because I have searched some information about language in France. So I know France has a lot of language areas. So do you chat with your friends in French?
Yes, for me, I chat with my friends in French. Sometimes we can chat in German, or sometimes in English. But this is, for English, it's just for having a practice, or just sometimes to ask for vocabulary, etc., just for the school or for the personal use during our free time. But for German, this is more because for me, where I live, most of the French, they have Germanic descendants. So that's why the German is not, all of us, we don't perceive German totally as a German, like as a foreign language, but we can also perceive this as a part of our own heritage, we can say.
Okay. Very good. And so, how do you feel about Taiwanese education after you come to Taiwan to study? For example, Taiwan has spoon-fed education, that students are crammed with a lot of things and knowledge within a short time. Students study only for tests, so what do you think about that?
For me, I think that in France, compared to France, this is, yes, maybe we can start to talk about the one in Taiwan. I think to learn only for the test, I don't really like it, because sometimes we are not really focused on the skills, because when we grew up and being an adult, we want to get a job or to even to make our own business, and we need to show our skills or to use skills to do something, and not to be focused on the test, because the test doesn't really have a meaning in itself, but can just attend to or get some more possibilities to get into better schools, having better education. But we need to be really focused on skills. And in France, in somehow, it's also similar on this, for learning for the test, but it's only during the test period, not during all the year. So, and the rest of the year, we are really focused on learning skills, and that's what is really particular into the French education, because we are focused on learning really block of content, but we need to be focused on also on the skills, how to use it and how to analyze it, and to use our critical mind or critical mindsets to apply to our daily life, and to use also the knowledge.
Okay, so yes, it's very good. And so I think the next question is related to this question, because do you know the term diplomatism? In Taiwan, that term means that many parents regard children's grade as everything, and they think their children's success is dependent on their academic performance.
Okay.
So what is your opinion about this?
For me, I think that maybe this could be related to the Chinese culture, to the Chinese society, how the society works in Taiwan. But I think that this is maybe for Taiwan, this can be good, or maybe this can be more related to the culture, the way the society works in general. But my personal opinion is that there is something more than the grade or the degree, because if you have a good degree, but if you don't behave good with other people, or you're not working on maybe the good thing or what you really like to do, this can be a problem. But compared to France about this is that most of the Westerners and also French were more focused on what we like to do, and even if we want to get a good degree, we need to get it into something we really like to do. Or if we don't want any degree and we just want to learn how to become a mechanician or how to build houses, this is something better than having a degree, because if this is something that you like, in France, this is what we need to do and this is what we want to do. And the parents will appreciate someone that is maybe a mechanician. If you like to do it, this is maybe better than having a good degree. But if it's a degree in something that you don't like to do, this can be sometimes not really appreciated by the parents.
I think it's very brilliant, because as for me, I learned piano when I was in junior high school, but I only learned for 3 years, because my teacher and my parents said learning the piano cannot make you earn a living in the future.
Okay.
So I stopped learning playing the piano. But I think if I were in France, if my parents encourage me to continue to learn the piano, maybe I will become a pianist.
A pianist?
Yes, a great pianist. But because my teacher and the parents said, because learning the piano cannot increase your academic grade, so they asked me to stop. And I think sometimes it will. I think every person has their own talent. So if he has a talent for piano, he should become a pianist. If he has a talent for language, he should become a language teacher or linguistics. So I think the French education is very good. So yes. So and the next question is, due to the common diploma, there are a lot of Korean schools in front of the train station or urban area. Have you seen that?
Oh yes.
And the Korean schools are kind of learning places that teach every school subject. Furthermore, students need to go to the Korean school to review or learn more to increase their academic performance.
Okay.
So does France has something like Korean schools?
In France, this is something that we can say a bit different for it, because we have like the public schools and the private schools. But if we go to the public schools, we don't have like kind of extra courses. But for very, very weak students, sometimes we can have 1, 2, 3 hours as extra courses, but this is just for the weakest students. Also for universities, sometimes, like when I was in my university, we could attend to some extra philosophy courses about philosophy, extra German courses or extra English courses. And I went to attend to those courses just to have some extra courses. This was for free. This was like for the same university fee. And for the private schools, they have extra courses or extra, like anything you want, they can have it, but it depends just on how much you pay for it. But usually, if you pay just even the minimum fee to get into a private school, or sometimes in some cases it can be free for you, but most of the people, they just pay part of their salary, like it's around 10% of their salary. No matter how much you earn, it's always 10%. But sometimes it's free if you're a really good student, because just for them it's good to have someone that can just raise up their grades when they want to show it to encourage more students to enroll. And there are some compared to the Pushipan, the craft schools. If you want to have some extra courses like this, you need to find especially a teacher by yourself, and you can pay extra money just to have math courses, English courses, Spanish courses, any kind of courses. But you need to find a teacher by yourself, and you need to ask the teacher as a private courses, one by one, as kind of tutoring, we can say.
I think because I know some colleges in Taiwan, they have education center in recent years. So if people want to change their career or to get some more knowledge, to new information or some new information, they can go to some college education center. I know our school has education center, but if people want to take course in an education center, they have to pay the fee, and just like maybe cheaper than the current schools in Taiwan.
Okay.
But I think the current school is like sometimes when people are in the junior or senior high school, they will go to the current school. But after senior high school, they seldom go to the current school. Only if they want to take property test, they want to serve for the government, so they will go to the current school to study some professional subject. For example, if they want to be an accountant in the government, because not every current school has accountant courses, so the person need to go to the current school, and then not every college education center has accountant test. So I think it's ever changing. I think it's ever changing. So yes, and.
You go to craft schools before?
Oh yes, when I was in junior high school, I went to the craft school every day.
Okay.
But I don't think it's very good for me to go to the craft school every day.
Okay.
Because I every day I need to go to the school and to stay the whole day, and about until the 5 o'clock p.m., 5 o'clock, afternoon 5 o'clock, I need to go to the Korean school for study. And so when I back to home, it's about 9 p.m.
Okay.
And I just take a shower and go to sleep. And I think when I was junior high school, I am a little regret to go to the Korean school, because I go to the Korean school for just having fun with my friends, because a lot of my friends in school, they also go to the Korean school, and I think this is a problem, because I think if people just want to go to the Korean school with their friends, it's a waste of money and a waste of time. And also, I think some parents have a less kind of mindset.
Okay.
They have strange ideas about going to a Korean school. For example, they want their children to normal knowledge, or to learn more, and can get higher grade than their classmates.
Okay.
And so I think it's the parents' mindset. But I also think some parents, for example, if they go to the Korean school for learning English, some parents, they will think, oh yes, my children need to get higher English grade in school. But I think they are more and more parents, they want their children to learn the language well, not just focus on the school. So I think it's changing. It's more and more. So, and I also think that it also has a very strange phenomenon. For example, if children go to the Korean school and also go to the school in the morning, if their children's grade doesn't improve,
yes,
many parents will blame it for the Korean school teachers.
Oh, okay.
Because they think, yes, I pay extra fee to the Korean school, why my children don't improve. So some Korean school teacher is very are very miserable. Yes, it's very miserable, because they sometimes will be blamed for the grade. But I think sometimes students need more time to understand, to digest what they learn from the school. So that is why the term cram school, cram everything into the children's brain, to children's knowledge. So it's a very strange phenomenon or situation in Taiwan. And okay, so the next question is, so may I ask? So do French parents, they will care about their children's grade, or some maybe I know in America they need to get good grade on scholarship. They need to have higher grade to get a scholarship, so they will focus on their grade. But it's students focus on, not parents. So in Taiwan, parents focus on their children's grade, not children themselves focus on their grade. So I think it's very, very interesting. So does it happen in France?
For me, yes. And also we can say, also the French are also like this. I mean, for the parents, and maybe some students also, like for me, I was also really focused also on the grades, but not only because the grades are important to get, like in America they can get scholarship, but in France, if we're really good, we can get, it's not really scholarship, but it's like extra money for every semester. Like in Taiwan it works by semester, but in France it's trimester. It means that the scholar year is separated in 3 parts, and for each part they will have the kind of they will have the grades. Also the teacher will be focused on, like they will explain like how the student is into the class, and then the committee of teacher for each semester they can discuss if they will give to you, because like for each class the teacher can decide to give to one or two students extra money for the trimester. For each semester, it depends on how good your grade is. It depends also on how good you behave into the class, and how do you help your classmates, or also how do you improve yourself, even through the grades, also through the skills. And for me, I got this when I was 12 years old until I went to the university. So for me, this was very good. But before getting this, I didn't know that this was something that existed, and I was hardworking because of first because of my parents wanted me to be good, but also I understood that it was important to learn something, and I was also interested in what we could learn in class. So for me, it was not a part was kind of I was a part forcing myself to improve myself and to work hard, but in somehow I knew that it was also really good for me. And when I went back home, I did the homeworks with my mom or my dad, or sometimes I asked them about something I didn't know, or to spend more time on it, and they gave me some, we can say, extra courses about it. And so that's why I was really focused when I was very young, but for now it's like focused for myself. There is no one to tell me work hard, or what to learn. It's like for now I'm adult enough and I'm mature enough to just to learn by myself, and not having someone to tell me do this or do that.
So
maybe this can be different in Taiwan. I don't know about.
Yes, but
in Taiwan, even like students, like for like college students or master, does the students in Taiwan, they learn for themselves, or they learn because their parents want them to learn it?
I think it's a problem because Taiwanese education left a lot of family, their children just learn for their parents, not for themselves. So I think it's a process. I think compared to Taiwan, French education led children to have a kind of process of exploring themselves, to know themselves, to understand themselves. So they know what they want, they know what they are fighting for. But in Taiwan education, I think students only learn for their parents. Seldom, very few students, they study for themselves, they fight for themselves. They just want to have a very beautiful grade for their parents. Or if some students they can't do that, they will just give up. Okay. Yes, and they will do nothing in school. And I think it is the problem in Taiwan. But just like what you say that a lot of professors they can give college students money, yes, extra money. So how much? About, you said if the children, if the student help other students, or if the student they get improvement on their grade, or they have a good interaction with the professor. So how much they will get?
It depends on the age of the student. Like for me, when I was because for having this, you need to require all those conditions. So it's like compared to the Taiwanese grades, we need to have more than 75%, like 75 out of 100. We need to have more than that. We need to behave good, etc. All of what I mentioned. But like when I got it, into when I was 12 to 15, we get per trimester, we can get 240 euros.
About 10,000.
No, 180 euros. When it was at that time, when I was at that time, it was 180 euros per trimester. It's compared to Taiwan dollar, it's 5,000. Like when I was 12 to 15, we can get per trimester. So it means it's 3 times per year. 180 euros, which is compared to Taiwanese dollar, is 5,500 Taiwanese dollar per trimester. And when it's between 16 to 18 years old, it's per trimester, it's 240 euros, which is 7,800 Taiwanese dollar. So this is high amount of money.
Yes, it has higher than Taiwanese scholarship. Yes, and maybe in Taiwan senior high or junior high, if student want to get scholarship, they need to come from low income family, or maybe they need to come from poor family, or maybe he or she is some privileged student. For example, they have some disability, or they are some problems. So in Taiwan, junior high or senior high school student, if they want to get scholarship, it's not very easy. Yes. So the next question is, in some certain situation, as for Taiwan, it may be implied to ask other status of marriage, salary, or whether they have bought a property, because this will cause some people to feel uncomfortable. I would like to know if France has that kind of unclear etiquette, and please describe in detail.
Yes, in France, for the taboos or the etiquette, it's about the salary sometimes, but depends on the people. It depends more on the people for salary. For the marriage, it's not a problem. We can just ask, and the people they answer it. Also for boyfriend or girlfriend, if we have a girlfriend, we can just ask if the boy has a girlfriend. We can just ask this, and this is not a problem. And what kind of other thing did you say?
Marriage, marriage and salary, or they have a house.
A house?
Yes.
You mean
because
to own a house?
To own a house.
No, in France it's okay. We can.
It's okay to ask.
Yes.
Yes. Because I think it's very compared to France, it's very common in Taiwan. Because they will say, these people is very excellent. If he has a house, or he has a good marriage, or he is paid higher than other people, we will think, this person is very excellent, and he achieves a great achievement. So yes, it's a kind of a standard to evaluate one's achievement according to marriage, salary, or property. I think sometimes it's a difference between culture, because in Taiwan, for example, many Taiwanese people, they like to say, hey, do you have a girlfriend, or do you have a girlfriend? Why are you lonely? Yes, but because Taiwanese people, they are afraid of being lonely. Being an only person to live your life. So I think sometimes it's very strange to So many people will think if you are lonely, you will be very something like it be a sad thing, it be a upset thing because you are lonely means you are a loser. Yes, but sometimes I think it's changing because some people they advocate some being lonely because being lonely can have more freedom. So I think the concept about being lonely is more common.
Okay.
So I think it's the difference between France and Taiwan. And the next question is, in Taiwan, a lot of young people, they don't care about the policy of government. Who is the president, it doesn't matter. And the economic status, some young people, they don't care about that in Taiwan. Compared to French young people, do you think they put a lot of value on their own nation?
Yes, in France and I think even to other nations in Europe, the youngest people, like from our very young age, for us, we really think that politics is very important because through politics and through politicians, we really can change something, and we can maybe talk about the news, because like for now the French are protesting, they're protesting against the government right now, and also in other Western nations it's also the same. People are also doing the same in the same way. I mean, and the people in France, they do this, and also in some other countries, because they really believe in the politics, and that the politicians can really listen to the population and to make something changing in their favor. And from the very, very young age, usually we like to watch some debates, political debates, and also we also have a TV channel offered by the government that we can watch, and we can watch like in live what the people are talking about into the National Assembly, like into the national parliament, that we can say, and we can really listen to them in just in live, like they're doing their speech. It's all recorded. They're all recording, and then they put it on YouTube and also on one national TV channel.
Okay. Thank you. And okay, the next question is, does French people value the relationship of family? As far as I know, a lot of Taiwanese, they are impolite to their parents, or seldom have dinner with their family. Does it occur in France?
In France, this is just seldom that this can happen, or if this happens, it's only for special situations, like if the parents, they go to work and they come back home very late, maybe they will not have the dinner with the children, or if the children, they go to school and they eat their lunch, maybe they will not eat dinner with their parents. But if the parents are at home at the moment, they can prepare the dinner. Usually we eat together. But if there are some people that sometimes they don't do it, this will be the parents will be very offended, and they can dispute the child or the teenagers about it.
So French parents like to scold or beat their children?
We can say that there are parents like this, but there are parents that are not like this. And when we talk about beating, it's not like very severe. It's not like beating until like there is the blood. It's just like kind of slap or something like this.
Slap
the children.
Wow, but I know that slap the children face is very common in Taiwan, but it will cause cause hurt in the children's mind.
Yes, also for the French for the French children. Yes.
Okay. I know a lot of news in Taiwan is a lot of children they will abandon or they will leave their parents alone and don't take the responsibility of taking care of their parents.
Okay.
So does that kind of abandoning or that kind of leaving their parents alone happen in France?
In France, it depends more on the families. But for me, I know that in my family it's not like this. But I know that I've heard some of some other French, like old, like elderly, that sometimes they got abandoned by their family. But I think that depends more on the family. But we cannot say that all French are like this or all French are they take care of the elderly or they abandon them. But I think that there are families that they abandoned and there are families that they take care. Depends more on the family, I think.
Yes, it's not.
It's not like general for the country.
Yes. So I think it also happened in Taiwan.
So,
yes. Okay. So the next question is, some people have specific impression about France, such as French people are more romantic or open-minded. Do you believe that is true?
Yes, I think that this is what we can call typically French, very typically French compared even to other Europeans. I think that the romance is maybe less like for the younger generation. Maybe it's less than the generation of my parents or our grandparents. But there are still people that they are romantic. And for the open-minded, I think French are especially open-minded, more than other Europeans, we can say.
Yes, I think what is the definition of romance in France? Because as far as I know, being romantic is like people will create a kind of atmosphere that
Yes.
will fill with a lot of love or some I don't know how to
Yes.
yes, but so what do you think about being romantic?
For me, being romantic is taking care of the girlfriend, and also if it's like hanging out. If we want to hang out, sometimes we can turn on the music and to use like kind of romantic songs or love songs, like during any kind of events. Sometimes with a girlfriend, we can just turn on this or say some sentences that are focused on love or showing the love through sentences, or also about the gesture or the attitude toward the girlfriend. And that's why I think that this is very important, like when we go to a place, just opening the door, just let entering the girl, or also like holding the door open for the girl, then she enters, then we can just close the door. Sometimes it can be like offering chocolates, it can be like offering flowers, especially rose, and also we can say that putting the chair, then letting the girl sitting down on it, and then push it back.
Yes, so I think the difference is French people do more than Taiwanese people.
Okay.
Because I think in Taiwan, being romantic is like just take your health better to a restaurant, just only for taking to restaurant, not doing something special. But I think according to what Raphael said is being romantic is like doing something doing more action to help the other. Yes,
Oh,
and,
yes,
and
yes.
do something sweet or do something will make your better help to feel happy. Yes,
Okay.
do more than Taiwanese people. Okay?
Oh,
So maybe we can talk about being open-minded. In Taiwan, I know a lot of, for example, if a person he dressed very strange, just like Lady Gaga. Okay, so he is walking on the street, and a lot of people will notice that person and speak something to wow, that person is very weird. His outfit, his clothing is very strange. So I don't know whether. So maybe sometimes it will cause, maybe it will make the person feel very uncomfortable because he can do what he wants and he can dress what he wants. So does he happen in France?
In France, I have friends like this. I have some friends like this, and I think that this is okay because I think for me that this is okay. But there are still also people that they like the generation of like people over 45, 40 or 50 years old. Over that age, they can say, "Oh, this person is really strange," but this is just how the people are dressed. But when they talk together, then they think, "Oh, this person is pretty good person," so then they're not afraid. It depends more, I think, on the outfit. If you dress like a punk, some people could be like kind of afraid because this is like related to before, because in the past some of the people like this were violent or they took drugs or something like this. So they're not really like recommendable person, like people that you can recommend. But usually there's also some people that they just dress like this, but they're good person in their heart and they don't do, they're not really aggressive people or they don't take any drugs. So it means that they're good people. And then when you talk to those persons, then even the people over 40 or 50 years old, then they can say, "Oh, finally this person is pretty nice, so that's okay to, like we can tolerate that kind of person."
Okay. So I think it's very very different from Taiwan because many people like to care about what other people think about them. So I think it's the difference. So this is the end of this interview, and thanks for Raphael for answering many questions I asked. So catch you guys next time. Bye bye.
See you next time. You're welcome.